Hello my fellow gamers and welcome once again to my SimCity video tutorials. In this video I will be continuing on with my multi-city video tutorials. You will remember that in my previous video I set up this university with a school of science and one dormitory and started the research on the concentrated solar array. Now after quite a while I have reached 70%. In the meantime I have managed to make a recycling center, which in this city has reduced the garbage from 2,500 to only 700 and increased the recyclables from 0 to 1300. I have placed one production line for plastic, one for alloy, which I'm now piling up in this trade depot so I can use them later on when I start making processors in the city. As I said, this is a multi-city tutorial, so what is going on between these cities at the moment? Well, they are not exchanging many workers because both cities are quite well balanced out, so they do not require any outside workforce. As for the shoppers, it's kind of the same thing. They both lack a lot of shops because I do have lots of parks in this city, so they are only exchanging a few shoppers. Now, as for the students, I have turned off my grade school in my first city, so now the entire student body of that city, which makes about 1200 students, is supposed to be coming into this city and into this university. Now, as far as I could gauge, this number is not the total that's actually coming into my city, which I have noticed in many previous videos that things that come out of one city do not actually all go into another city. That's the same thing that's happening here with these students. There are 1200 students that are being educated in that city by sending them to be educated in this city. But even though over there it's going to say that all of them are being educated in this city, only a fraction of them will actually be coming in. You can see that by watching my university as it starts working from 6 AM up until 3 PM. And if I turn on this overlay, we can sit here and wait for the students from the other city to walk in, actually drive in. So now we have reached 3 PM. How many students came into this city from the other city? 0. How many were educated in this city that live in the other city? All of them. Now, how is that possible? Magic! So, anyway, let's see about the utilities. In my first city, I'm producing around 90 megawatts, of which I'm selling 35 of the excess 50 to this city. The water is being produced in this city, as do I have the sewage capacity in this city, and then it is exported to my first city. Once the research for this concentrated solar array is finished, I will then build a solar array in my first city, which is then going to export a much larger amount of power to my second city and later on to my third city. And it is only then that I will be able to start building a processor factory because it requires a lot more power. At that point, these factories, which are currently just sinks for jobs for my residents, I will be taking them down and bulldozing them one by one as the requirements for workers go up once I start building processor factories. At that point, I could go for a bit more workers if I need them and go to high density, but I'm trying to avoid going to high density until I have all 3 cities up and running and have a transportation department consisting of ships, trains and buses going, so I do not get overwhelmed by huge amounts of traffic going on the interstate between the cities. Another thing that you need to know about building a multi-city region is how the utilities are divided between cities. Now, once I were to build this city and start it up, the power that comes out from this city, its excess power, would be divided so both of these cities can only get half of that power. Now, it is kind of strange because the power is automatically divided in front before it is actually used. So if I were to build this city, this 52 megawatts of excess power that are coming out from this city would not all be available to this city. only half or about half would be available to this city, while the other half would be always available to this city, regardless of how much power this city is taking up, and regardless of the fact that this city would not be taking up any of it as it starts to be built. So that same thing goes for water and sewage capacity. If I were to build this third city, this city would not be able to get all the capacity that this city has access of water and sewage capacity, but only a part of it, and the other part would be reserved for this city, whether it is using it or not. So as soon as you start building a third city in any region, you have to be aware that the second city might lack the required power, water, or sewage, depending on what he is importing from the city that is the exporter, because it is divided equally among the cities whether they're using it or not. So you are most likely going to have to increase the capacity of the exporting city for the one of the importing city to be able to import more, simply because a part of those resources are divided for the third city, even though it does not matter that the third city is not using any of them. When it comes to cities sharing garbage or recycling trucks, it is quite interesting to see whether sometimes it will work, sometimes it will not. In one of my regions where I have 5 cities, I have one city that has 2 fully upgraded garbage dumps and is taking up the trash from all the other 4 cities. And it is bringing in huge amounts that I had to have incinerators to incinerate all that garbage. While the recyclables were picked up from other cities, but were not actually brought in to be recycled. So this is something that they said they would be fixing or tweaking in these patches. Whether they did anything about it in patch 2.0, I haven't really noticed. The interesting thing is that when I run my first city, which is supplying garbage capacity to this second city, they are not actually bringing any trash back to this city. Which is weird considering what I just told you, that in another region they do bring back the trash. So I'm going to try and see to send these recycling trucks to my first city and see whether this city will be bringing back those recyclables and put them in my recycling center and turn them into plastic or alloy, or will they simply just disappear in the back of those trucks once they come back. Now that I have shared, I'm going to load my first city. And now let's see what will happen with the recyclables. You can see here that this city has just said that I have plopped a recycling center. Even though I have not actually plopped a recycling center, I have just sent recycling trucks from another city that actually has the recycling center. And now finally, after a full days of waiting for it to happen, the recycling bins have started being used in this city, and hopefully we will catch some recycling trucks coming in. Here's the first one, and now we can see just how many of these recycling bins will get filled up by the end of this day. We are now up to 1000. You will notice that the garbage still stands at 1700, even though recyclables have gone up. This will change in about a day or two, when the garbage or the trash will go down, while the recyclables will stay at the same or will themselves go up. Now all the recyclables have been picked up, and these recycling trucks are now going to go back to my second city from which they came. Now the question is, what exactly will happen? Is the other city going to receive the delivery of these recyclables, and is it going to be able to turn them into alloy and plastic? Now the trick is that this city here exists in its own time bubble, while the other city has its own time bubble. Now as we watch these recycling trucks go into my second city, we can load it. And now we can try and track just how much recyclables are going to be produced by this recycling center. Now I know from previous days that I was able to produce around 600 crates of plastic and around 8 tons of alloy. Now if I run this city, I will stay here and watch and see just how many tons of recyclables are going to be received by this city, and just how much plastic or alloy is it going to produce. Now if I keep looking, I can see that the recycling trucks have finished their run, and they have brought in about the same amount of tons of recyclables, and I have made about the same amount of alloy and plastic, and I have only a few tons of alloy and a few hundred crates of plastic remaining, just like I had yesterday. Now, if I look at these recent transactions, I can see here that there are recycling trucks that are bringing in money for the recycling services done to the other city. And if I keep looking at the tonnage of the recyclables, I can notice that it doesn't seem to have been changed by much. So I should probably try and wait for another full day to see if the tonnage of the recyclables will change to anything higher than it was the previous day. Now I have almost fully filled this tray depot with alloy and plastic, so I will need to build another one to stockpile some more of it. And add more plastic and more alloy capacity. Now I have left this module for freight because the factories are much happier when they have somewhere to put their freight, to send their freight, and if you don't have enough commercial or any specialization buildings, they will need a trade depot to send their freight to. At 5 a.m. they are exiting their garages, and they are once again going to pick up the recyclables inside this city. Now the question is, when are they actually going to the other city and picking up its recyclables? And they never did. During the entire night, none of my recycling trucks in this city have left the city to go into the other city and pick its recyclables up, even though they have been told to do that. Now, why have I had any transactions at all if these guys never go out? Now, let's put that to the test. Let's once again go into our first city and wait for the time for the recycling to begin. You probably just noticed that there was a drop in the garbage that is created by this city. As I told you previously, it takes about a day or two for the garbage to drop after you have started collecting recyclables. You just saw the garbage trucks exiting this city in order to pick up the garbage in my other city. Now the question is, why does that not happen with the recycling pickup trucks? You can see them here coming into this city, and they will be picking up its recyclables, but you do not actually see them leaving my second city to take the recyclables from this city. Now I hope you also noticed that the amount of recyclables did not restart like the garbage did. The garbage went up, it was picked up, and during the night it reset, so now it's being picked up again. While the recyclables did not do that. They are still standing at the same amount that they were picked up yesterday, yet today they are again picked up without actually restarting. If I turn on the garbage disposal map, we can see that they are physically being shown as picked up, even though this number stays the same like it was yesterday. So these trucks are really here, and they seem to be really picking up recyclables. Now the question is, will I see them in my second city from which they're supposed to be going out? You will notice that in this city the recyclables do reset every morning, as does the garbage before it is being picked up and the numbers go up. Once again we see that the trucks that are supposed to be picking up recyclables in the other city actually never leave this city, even though they are showing up in the other city. Now I have waited for now 3 days to see any new recent transactions that would tell me that I am picking up recyclables from the other city, but I have yet to see any after the initial surge when I first sent my trucks to the other city. My research has finally finished, and now I can build these concentrated solar arrays. So now that I have this research finished, I will be going to my first city and I will build it there. I have used these hills for the wind power plant, while I will use this corner of the map here for my solar power plant. For now, I will add just one of these mods, and it will produce 37 megawatts together with this one, which produces around 12. So in total, I will have over 40 more megawatts onto power already produced by these wind turbines, and with the wind being at 17 miles per hour, I have now a huge excess of power for my second city to use. Now that this city has a much larger supply of power in standby, I can build a processor production plant in this city. Because I want to upgrade this processor factory with a few more mods once I build it, I'm going to build it right here so that I can build 2 more mods on the left. Whenever you build a processor factory, it will actually not allow you to build a 4th mod on one side because it will say that it is too far from the main facility. But that is okay because I do not wish to poison this city with too much pollution, because building processors does make quite a large amount of pollution. So I'm going to plop it here, and as I will show you, there will be enough room right here for 2 more of these mods. Now I already have some alloy and plastic in these trade depots from recycling, and any workers that I am now short of for this processor plant I can gain simply by bulldozing these factories. As you just saw, the unfilled jobs went down, and they are now going to go and work in this processor factory. Now that I do have a processor factory, I will also need a trade depot to which I will send those processors. I am going to extend this street and build a trade depot on it. It would appear that I need only a little bit more of space, which is actually at the moment taken up by this avenue, which is not actually straight, and I may be able to straighten it out and free up that space. Now let's see, will it be enough space? Yes, perfectly, just enough space. There we go. A trade depot with processor storage lots. Turn it on for export. And now we are in business. So this would be all for this video. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for more.